little badass, book badass. You little badass, you little badass, book club badass. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back to Babs. We got a good one for you tonight. I mean, today.
It's tonight somewhere. Should we go back to Australia?
Please do that accent. I loved it. Say down under. Just once. Say down under.
Because I'm just not an accent person. And if you didn't know that already, then you haven't watched episode 12. I was excited to start because I want everybody to know it's episode lucky number 13.
We made it.
Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah, I actually forgot, and then I remembered, and I was very excited.
Yeah, and that's why we're wearing lucky black. Not because that's what we usually would wear.
Yeah, if you're listening now, you know.
Mm-hmm. I am wearing a Rolling Stone Tour of America 1978 shirt because it's inspired by my read, which I'll get into.
And my shirt is clearly inspired by our shared read, Let Go for Dear Life.
Yes.
And we did talk a little bit about mental health. Obviously, this episode is still touching down on it between the books that we read, which are Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
Yes, mine, The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis.
And Miss Freida McFadden in Ward D. I actually learned something interesting about her, Ashley.
Oh. Do share.
She's like a brain surgeon.
Interesting.
She does surgery on brains, and then in her free time, she writes books, I guess.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, unless the internet lied to me, but I don't think it did.
Why would they lie?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It tracks. She knows a lot.
Well, she is good at what she does, and I hope she's also good at the brain thing.
Can't wait to talk about her, but I'm going to wait because I really want to know what's going on with your gay boys.
Okay, I'll start.
Yay.
I guess it's decided. No,
yes.
Okay, you guys.
Murder.
Okay. I don't know where to begin because let me just start out by saying that
Go on.
Bret Easton Ellis is probably my favorite writer. Let's keep in mind I haven't read an entire one of his works just yet, so things could change, you know.
But you've read a lot of badass authors, I think, so far.
That's true. And it might just be like where I'm at or whatever, but I really, really am liking his style of writing.
Cool.
I want to learn more about all different Bret's things, but I also don't want to get in a spot where I'm given a spoiler or led to think one thing or, whatever. So I'm really trying to wait until I'm done with the book. However, I did look at his IMDb.
Oh.
And there was just a little bit of info about him and how other people describe his writing and things like that. And they're just he just really likes to write about nothing, but write about it really in depthly. And I'm okay, well, now that you put it that way, when he's describing a room or a scenario or just all the conversations that we're privy to in the book.
Yeah.
It is kind of a lot of just maybe inconsequential. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's been a really long day.
I totally get it, Ashley.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
It's a lot of unimportant minutia, but to me, I'm just so in it.
Okay. You were mad at yourself because you couldn't say
what is
inconsequential.
Yeah.
But then you say minutia. And it just rolled off of your tongue. I think you and Bret could be friends.
I know. Maybe we could be. I'm also just
she's also into murder.
I just want everybody to know if you're watching it, my cheeks look a little swollen. I'm going through something.
I love how there's no context at all with that. It's
a dental issue and I'm totally fine, but just know that there could be something going on
and
if I'm not enunciating.
All of those that you are just listening, let me describe the way that she looks right now. Absolutely perfect.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and that's why we're friends, because she just tells me nice things.
It's good to have a good friend.
It is. Sometimes that's what we need.
That's all I need.
That's true, and that's why
this lamp.
I love the lamp.
Okay, but when we left off, I wanted you were only at 100.
Yeah. So
how far did you get? How far did he get with the fish and the descriptions and descriptors and minutia?
So that was just my little thanks to Bret for doing what you do or have done, and now I'm part of it and I'm really enjoying the ride.
How many books does he ride you?
How many books has he written?
Yes. Yep.
Don't quote me. At least 3 or 4.
Cool.
I'm sure probably a lot more than that because he wrote American Psycho.
Right.
He wrote this one called Less Than Zero, which was his first, which is also a movie. He wrote this one and he wrote something else and he's probably written a few other things. So he's doing great. Okay. When we left off, I was only 100 pages in. I was pretty confident that Bret, as the narrator, the character Bret, was just letting us know things that happened when he was younger. The shards, you asked me, Ashley, what are the shards? I'm like, oh, it's just these like pieces of Bret that are left over from this traumatic event that happened to him. And this certain guy is the killer. Well, this is all turned upside. Well, we don't know because I'm not done yet. I've gotten to I'm through chapter 19. So I'll get back into it tonight, probably chapter 20, but it's about, I think I'm around page 400.
Oh my goodness. Exciting.
Yeah, and there's like about 600 pages. I'm talking with my hands. You guys should turn into YouTube.
Yeah. There's lots of movement left and right.
So what I'm thinking is happening right now is we have an unreliable narrator on our hands.
Well, I understand how that goes.
And I'm starting to think that these shards are pieces of like Bret's personality or like there's something going on. Like it's psychological.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think he's like multiple personalities, but I wouldn't be surprised, again, not doctors, if there's some sort of mental illness like schizophrenia, something's going on. He's very paranoid.
Okay.
He's just,
or is it also like a narcissist who can only see it in one way and can't take responsibility for themselves?
That could be part of it. I do feel like there's a lot of imagination going on with Bret the character, and he's telling us things the way he probably really does remember it. But I also feel that there's some manipulation because of how he is in his relationships with friends and lovers.
Oh.
And I could be wrong because we still don't know. We don't have any like actual this person stabbed this person.
So you can't trust him as an author.
I don't feel
not
like
author,
he's
narrator.
I don't feel like he's trustworthy right now. And I could be wrong, but I'm just getting little hints here and there. How he's like interpreting situations, how he's like just remembering things. He's describing like, oh, this guy got killed on Friday night. Robert wasn't here on Friday night. Well, Bret, where were you on Friday night after you left the party? You know?
Yeah.
And he's putting himself in weird situations, and it is a little bit of a narcissistic twist on how so right now he's following. Not right now, but in the pages I've read, he starts following the guy who he thinks is the killer, who happens to be like a peer at school. And he's like legit like following this guy everywhere. And it's like, okay, let's just say Robert's not the killer. You're just a crazy man following this other guy.
This person. Yeah.
Yeah. And just being super paranoid about like what you think is going on. So there's definitely something going on.
Ooh, parallel to the last story.
Yes. People are getting killed.
Right.
Someone close to Bret has been killed, Matt, R.I.P., which I knew that was coming.
You kind of sensed that, yeah.
Yes, and we did.
That was his best friend?
It was his experimental lover.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were, things were coming to an end with them, and Matt thought that Bret was this person who was like calling in, just breathing into the phone and basically harassing him, and then he was really paranoid, and then he turns up dead. And then, so in my head, I'm like, okay, did Bret actually kill him? I think we also have a case of multiple killers.
Interesting.
The way that things are described as far as how LA is at this time, like there's a lot of just culty, just and weird and stuff going on. So I think maybe that there might be a serial killer.
Okay, thought though, because you've done a lot of ID channel stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. And you've read a lot of different stories about people killing people.
So I have, yes. When you put it that way. I mean, no, but yes.
I should word it differently. No. True crime fan.
Yeah, and fake crime.
Yeah. Okay, so okay. I'm gonna slow down so I can be more articulate.
That's how I felt because I have so much to say, but
I know. But okay, so like even I don't want to say Ted Bundy, but some of the other like Dahmer and different famous murderers that I've, watched true crime of, they will speak in like third person. Like they didn't do that. but they saw somebody do it.
Bret is giving
those vibes.
Yeah. And you know
Ooh.
what?
Is it descriptive like that?
So it's descriptive. He's the only one in his peer group who's like paying attention to the news, which we
Okay,
know
why?
like people who like write into the police just want to see it published in the newspaper. So he's the one who's like hyper super focused on all these vibes and like where these people are going who are missing and who's the killer. No one, he's a 17-year-old kid in the richest school in LA. Like no other friends are like concerned. And he's describing it as like, oh, they're just like, you know, superficial. Why doesn't anybody care that Matt's gone? No one cares about this.
Like
no
he
one cares
wants
about
you
that.
to care. Why aren't people caring?
But
more?
he's also like hyper focused.
Interesting.
So, and I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone in your like circle or that you've been intimate with dies in this really yucky way, especially, I think it's fair
if
that
you
you're
did, you
hung
know
up.
I'd be freaking out.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Exactly. But then I look at you and Maya and I'm like, no, just kidding. So
Fair
I do
enough.
sympathize with Bret. I mean, and some of these things he is like, he could be imagining, or like you think like his best girlfriend is like having an affair and he's like really onto it. And then it turns out she really is. But then if you take a step back and you're like, yeah, high school people who are about to graduate might step out from their high school perfect boyfriend and date the new guy behind their back. And so it's also
Young
like
and dumb.
reasonable.
Yeah.
But then Bret takes it as like this personal offense. He's taking like everything so
Interesting.
personally. He's like so paranoid.
He's hurt.
He is. And he's just like, I don't know. He's just like really in it to the point where if he's not the killer, I still feel like maybe he's going to end up killing somebody. Like maybe the paranoia gets to him. Maybe he creates a story in his
Wow.
head. I think that that's where it's going. I don't necessarily think that he's the one out here abducting like all these random teenagers that's going on in the news, but maybe it's just like a hyperfixation that he can somehow relate to or is intrigued with, or
I mean, doesn't that happen though too?
Like a
Like
copycat or
that's
something?
how those things happen. You know,
Mhm.
that's how cults become cultish.
Yeah.
Right?
He's very, like, he admits that he has all these different identities. And at first you're sympathetic because you're like, okay, you're in the closet. You're figuring out who you are as a 17-year-old in general. Like,
Tough. Hormones.
He calls himself the tangible participant. And that's the Bret who has, like, the girlfriend and who is the good friend and the all-American. And he's just,
What
like,
he's
feels
supposed to be.
very, like he's just fitting into this mold of what he thinks he should
Got it.
be. And then he's got his girlfriend refers to him once as a zombie because sometimes he's just super detached. And then, so he's got all these different identities that he acknowledges. And he's not saying, oh, I'm
Which isn't
different
really
people.
psychopathic.
No,
It's high school.
And that's the thing. It's like you can think, oh, okay, this seems fairly normal or what
Right.
understandable or
Right.
whatever. But
Right.
then if you take a step back and like actually look at like some of the things he's doing, it's like, ooh, that's a little edgy there, bud. I'm getting a little Tyler Fight Club in some of these situations. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like, I mean,
there's two of him.
or just, I don't know, maybe he's not hallucinating a whole identity or whatever, but there's just the way he's like seeing things doesn't really seem like it's going to line up to reality.
But you get that through how Bret describes.
Yeah.
And his writing. And so now I completely understand why you love him as an author.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it successfully, obviously.
Yeah, I'm really into it. So I'm really excited to see actually what happens. I have probably about a quarter of the book left.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm interested. I don't know. I hope we get like something clear.
Right.
But the way his style is sort of mysterious and the way the author's identity at least is portrayed to be like part of the story.
Right.
Like his actor person is in it, but then it's just like, where's the line between reality and the way he's storytelling?
Is it realistic though still? Like, you know, sometimes some of the stories we've read, it's like an author will do something and it's either super predictable or super like, yeah, that wouldn't happen.
See, to me, the way he describes this LA that they're living in, it seems possible.
Okay. Cool.
But I just kind of feel like Bret just feels like elusive, and I kind of feel like he's just going to keep us like maybe not having perfect closure at the end, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's like a style too if you're like into, certain types of movies and stuff.
What do you hope happens?
Okay.
Like, I mean, ideally, as the reader, what would be satiating?
Okay.
What would fulfill you?
If Bret is like writing this from like a mental institution and this is like his memoir from that place,
Cool.
I mean, I could see how that would be like a nice way to wrap it up. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I do think we're going to be left with a question of like, did Bret do something like bad, like really bad? And then I definitely, I don't know who from his friend group, but he's alluding to like pretty much all of them are going to end up being killed. So I just hope that there's like a couple at least clear scenes of like the person getting killed so we do know exactly what happens to somebody. I don't want it to be like a whole mystery of like everything's untied.
Okay,
If there's a little mystery about whether or not Bret like crossed the line somewhere, I'm fine with that because it's kind of fun. It's like you're hearing from somebody and then you end it and it's like they're still out in the world and you don't really know. Yeah. So that's fine. But I don't want it to be like that for everybody, you know, like that ends up dead.
You don't want the cat to necessarily catch the mouse.
Yeah.
But I need
some concrete details on at least like half the deaths.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be just like complete mystery.
Do you fall in love with any of the characters that then...
So far, only one person that we know personally has died, and I do feel bad for Matt. And then everybody else who's passed away so far has been just victims of the serial killer, and they're like girls who are from other schools, so we don't know them. And yes, mostly girls. That's a thing too, because this other boy, the police ruled it as like a suicide overdose accident,
right?
Even though there's clear like a cat was beheaded on premises. So like
once again,
yeah. And I won't get into too much detail, but yeah, this is the fish. There's more fish. There's a lot of animal cruelty.
Okay, I do have feelings for fish, but like the cat, come on.
And
how's that described though?
It's graphic.
Because I want to know.
It's graphic in the sense that like it's described as a scene. It's not described as like this is what happens while it's happening.
Okay, so like you're watching Dexter and you walk into like the murder scene.
Yes, like the landscaper comes across the body of Matt in the pool,
right? And
it also is described that the body of the cat is kind of crucifixed and the head is elsewhere. And it's not like so. I mean, their intestines are mentioned. Okay, so it's not like clear.
So it's rated R.
It is rated R, but it's not like I'm gutting the cat and slicing him. It's not like Silence of the Lambs.
Describing the process of it.
Right.
It's just the scene.
And the picture is graphic and it's yucky. And if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Okay, but that being said, there is something attractive, like, NCIS, a lot of these. So actually, not Cruel Minds. Definitely not Cruel Minds.
Okay.
Criminal Minds.
Oh, that one.
I was thinking Cruel Intentions.
I know,
actually.
my favorite movie. Well,
Cruel
one of them.
Intentions, so good. Just a little moment for that. Yeah, so Criminal Minds, a lot of that happens where they come across the scene.
Right.
That kind of stuff. But then you like piece it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's something very attractive to that, I think.
Yeah, and Bret, so just more details about Bret, like he goes to Matt's house and like talks to his parents and wants to know more. And it's like, okay, I kind of understand that, but I also kind of understand if you did it, why you would want to revisit the scene, because that's what some people like to do.
Interesting.
And it's just like he seems to be putting together pieces of these different murders that nobody else is putting together. It's like, well, why are you so keen to this? Bret.
Interesting.
But he also might just be really
Would you
curious.
be okay if, I mean, honestly, because you're leaning into it so much, which makes it fun, but would you be okay if he just is a do-gooder who figures it out?
Yes.
But that would be unpredictable?
No, I just don't think that that's going to happen because like the way he's describing it, pretty much everybody in his friend group is going to die, it seems like. So like, he doesn't. Like, how is he getting out? Like, I don't know. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a climactic scene.
Cool.
And I think deaths are going to happen. And I think we're going to learn about Bret. But I just don't think he's the one out here abducting girls from other high schools.
Cool. Awesome.
So that's that on that. But I'm really excited to finish it, learn a little bit more about the real Bret, and talk some more about it next time.
That's fun. Ooh, I like it. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah. So right now I'm just feeling really like in limbo with it. There's so much to say, but it's hard to speak on without like knowing which direction it's going. But you know where I hope it's going, and I'm excited to get there.
Murder.
Yeah. And also
very Scream. It's like Scream.
It is Scream. And it's like I'm really liking the writing, and he really is just describing like his like honestly psychosis, and I'm so into it.
Yeah, I mean, he gives you what you want. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, and the songs and just like everything. It's just like so. Like every page has a song.
I was curious about that. Like, how does he bring it in? Like, such and such was playing on the background.
Literally that. Like, if you flip through the book, there's just so much like italicized, like you can see because of all the song titles or bands, and he just will really be like, "This was playing, and this is what's going on, and this was playing, and this is what's going on." It's It's a lot. Oh, that's another thing. I don't know if it would be weird to post like on the Instagram, but I found on Spotify a playlist of all the songs in order.
Dope.
Super cool.
I mean, at least share. At least we can share. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I did have one more question though, because, since we're out there with the universe. Sorry, for people listening, I pointed to the cameras.
You're the universe.
There. You are the universe. You are the universe.
I was about to meditate.
Okay. So he's like, they're high schoolers.
Yes.
Okay. But this is also a very rated R book.
Oh, and I should mention too, yes, as a warning, there is some statutory rape.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into too much detail. I mean, Bret in a sense is participating, but then there's the whole age and, roles and
so very, very mature and for some people sensitive concepts.
Yeah, and it's not exactly something he wants to do, but he kind of feels obligated. I mean, we all know what it is, but I'm just saying, and it is graphic as well. So just like this is the guy who wrote American Psycho.
Yeah. Have that in your mind.
Yeah.
That being said, like obviously how he's describing it, what age group, do you think it's more in a book that's more attractive to an age group or not?
Honestly, maybe my age group. Because like I think I am the perfect person because I feel nostalgic for the 80s, even though we were born in the late 80s.
Okay.
Spoiler. I know. It's a shock. Even though we were born in the late 80s, I don't know about you, but like I remember being like a young person and like the songs I was listening to because my mom was like a fan of like, whoever.
So anybody who's really nostalgic for the 80s would enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's more of like a vibe.
Yeah, it is a vibe. Okay. And he does a really good job of like, he describes, he just came to Palm Springs in the chapter I just finished.
Fun.
And he's like, getting off of, specific streets, pulling onto specific streets. And I'm just like, that resonates with me.
So
and
especially,
then
so a Southern California.
Exactly. And every like landmark in LA, every street he's driving down. So I think if you're into that sort of thing and you are, let's just say you appreciate the culture of LA, or maybe you're someone who's been to LA and you like know where that corner is. Awesome. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah, me too.
Because it helps me picture it.
Right.
So, anybody who's like, can like appreciate the 80s big hair thing.
And true crime people might genuinely...
Yes, if you don't mind the fact that there are some graphic things as far as like sexual stuff. And I mean, these are essentially kids.
Gay.
Yeah. And essentially these are kids. And I mean, it's twisted. Again, like if you liked American Psycho, you're going to have no problems here.
And if not, it might not be your thing.
Yeah.
Cool. I kind of just... Honestly, I love how you're describing it. I want to read at least a couple chapters.
Yeah, and I don't really feel like I'm doing it justice right now, but I'm in such a spot where I'm just like excited to finish it, and then I can't wait to like have final thoughts.
So like next week's gonna be baller.
It really is. I mean, unless you piss me off, Bret, and then you're now my worst author.
We'll know by how many fingers come out at the next one.
Damn it. I'm going to be like, it was a dream.
Okay.
If that happens, I'll be pissed.
From all of your twists to mine, shall we?
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to hear what happens.
Freida.
Oh, I like that.
No,
it reminds me of Stella. Is that what you were doing?
A little bit of that, a little bit of Braveheart, Yeah.
Okay.
So, Freida, we already know that I love you. You are a fun author. This is a fun, easy read. She's an easy reader. And in fact, I went to Target. I saw that you have The Tenant out recently. And I'm tempted just because it's easy. She's easy. So for any of you who would like, just something fun, I do recommend her. She's up my alley for sure. And, halfway, Cam was missing. The character Will, who we were like, is he the bad guy? Is he not the bad guy? He made up this story. Oh, wait, no, we hadn't even got to
He hid his pills
He
and
hid
then
his
went to the
pills.
bathroom.
Yep. Okay. So that's where we left off. And so basically, like, Freida's doing a good job, like, leading you in a direction. And what makes it so fun is because she's also very descriptive. And how she set up the story was perfect to begin with. In the sense that you're getting a little bit of backstory that Amy has some sort of past relationship with someone who's at the mental hospital. You have a history of Amy being concerned about her own mental stability.
Right.
Because she saw that little girl.
Sure.
Okay. And then she has come so far in life where she is a medical student and she's going to spend a night rotation in the psychiatric area of a hospital. So nighttime alone, right, can be spooky because you can't see everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you're tired. And it's this concept of you being tired. Yeah, and how much can you trust? It's this also concept of like trust, right? How much can you trust yourself and your own mental stability in a situation like that, right? Okay, and then the characters themselves that you're introduced to, how can you trust them? And then it does touch briefly, not briefly. It talks about how difficult and challenging I think it could be to either being a person in an institution like that, needing that help or assistance, or being someone pushed into that situation unaware that they need that assistance, and the treatment that may or may not be offered to them. So after this, you get a little bit, Will basically says, that stuff messes me up. And you have like a moment and Amy's friend, what did I say? It was Jade?
Jade, yeah.
Jade, she even talks about a little bit like how they make you, the drugs don't make you feel like yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of, you feel sympathetic. And I think she does a good enough job of touching on mental illness and being able to also use it to create the fear in a situation like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does.
Like
she's just so good.
I think so. Yeah. So it's not all out something's wrong with these people.
Okay.
And I think that's really, really important because a lot of people are hesitant to get help because they don't want to feel that term crazy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But when you're writing about people who could hurt you and you're trying to create this sense of fear, you kind of have to push that as an author.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. So it's more of like atypical thinking. You have characters who you feel sorry for that are just, lost in the sauce, lost in their brain, a little, and so she does help you to feel kindness towards them, and she does that through Amy, I think, and how she describes these other characters. And even Amy is sympathetic towards them and wants to be a good listener and learn about them. But she's also inwardly like nervous to be one of them.
Sure. Sure.
She doesn't want to have to be medicated and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to talk about it a little bit because I don't want anyone to think by any means that, I enjoy hearing about people with mental,
right, as like a sort of not joke, but just entertainment or whatever.
For entertainment.
Yeah,
right. That being said, it is used to create the scene.
Okay. I think that's a fair disclosure to just be like, this is just the.
Well, and I think that's the whole thought, right? That some people with mental illness can be dangerous.
Sure.
Especially when we were just talking about the presence of some sort of narcissism and psychoses that would allow someone to take someone's life. Right. So in order to take someone's life, your brain has to be working differently.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
To have that difference of moral compass.
Sure.
I think that's a fair way to say it.
Yeah.
So that exists within the book.
Okay.
However, not everybody who has a mental, disability or mental illness is dangerous.
Perfectly
and I think,
said.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And she paints both of those characters in the story.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, spoiler alerts, everybody. Spider Dan's the hero.
Well, thank
It wasn't
goodness
Mary.
for that.
It wasn't Mary with her needles.
Okay, is Mary okay?
No.
Uh-oh.
So many people die.
Oh my god.
Okay, so let's get into that.
So yeah.
Now that I said my spiel.
Yeah.
Okay. So many things of what I thought were wrong, except Cam is totally dead. Like he disappears for a while and you're kind of going, well, maybe he is alive, okay? And then you're like, nope, he's dead. Like 5 people are dead, 4 or 5 people. And one of the people that is dead is Dr. Beck.
Well, job security for Amy.
Well, who was the Dr. Beck that she met then?
Oh no.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh no.
Here we go. Do you want to know? Do you want to know all the details or just how I enjoyed it?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to give every single detail.
I enjoyed it so much that, like, literally, I went home after the last pod and I was just like, and I went through it.
Okay, well,
because it just happens and happens and happens and happens. Because, like, after, like, halfway, she did a good job of building it up. You still had events occurring, and then you're off to the frickin' races, man.
Okay, so does Amy kill everybody?
Okay, no.
Okay.
So Amy is mostly saying,
Oh.
here's what happens, okay? It's amazing. Well done, Freida.
It always is.
Well done, Freida. So Will, right?
Okay.
Will is not the killer.
Okay.
Will is a reporter.
Know it.
Who
No, I
put
didn't.
himself in the position
Right.
because he heard, hey, some things weren't up to par at this place. And so you're going, okay. And then we come to find out Amy is pushed by Jade to look into Jade's file because Jade is creepy.
Right.
And Jade pushes Amy. And it's interesting because Amy, who's like in her 30s by this point, I think, 20s, 30s, like late 20s, 30s. She keeps talking about like how much she owes it to Jade and how they knew each other. But like, I know we kept our relationship, we kept our friendship, right? But would you like, if you saw someone from high school who was in a mental institution who you knew was bipolar and suffered from other illnesses, who had, caused harm to other people, would you feel like you still knew that person?
I mean, no, not really.
Like you knew who they were.
Right.
And so that's the only thing that I'm going to fault you on, Freida, is like Amy's loyalty she feels to Jade.
I mean, I guess they would have had to be pretty close if Jade knew about the little ghosty girl.
Well, she said she was her best friend, but listen to this.
Okay.
So the reason why we come to find out that Jade and Amy stopped being friends was because Amy is worried about a math test, tries to get Jade's assistance.
Okay.
Okay, because you're having these flashbacks, which were nicely done, by the way.
Okay.
And Jade goes, okay, I figured it out. I've got this. And Amy's like, okay. And they go inside the school and they basically convince the custodian to let them into the math room because Jade said like she forgot her book or something, right?
She was stealing answers.
She took the test.
Okay.
She took the key and she was like, here you go, Amy. You're welcome.
Oh no.
Yeah, because, in her mind, in Jade's kind of,
way of
atypical
thinking.
mind,
Sure.
she's like, easy A.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll solve all the answers for you, and then here you go.
Okay.
And then so Amy couldn't do it, and she ends up like throwing the test away. And then she takes the test, and Amy takes the test, right? And the math teacher, who's a total... Here, I won't say any names.
A total math teacher.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Let's say
which grade, and I'll know.
6 through 8.
Okay.
Okay.
Enough said.
Exactly that person that you can remember.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay.
And he goes, one of the tests is missing. Okay. And then he basically calls the girls out because he had talked to the custodian basically. And so basically they're stuck. And everything that Amy had worked for, she knew at that point in her life the direction she wanted to go. She was a good student. She did have trouble with math. Math was easy for Jade. And Jade's like, well, what's the problem? If you tanked it because you said you didn't look at it, then they're not going to know and it's fine. Well, Amy apparently did look at it because she was so worried about failing. Okay. So then Jade shows up later in the car and is like, get in, get in, loser. I've solved it. And Amy's like, how did you solve it? And they go to this house and they go through the back screen door and Jade has a hammer and has kidnapped their math teacher. Not kidnapped, but basically under house arrest, right? Like had injured him and strapped him to a chair and was like, look, Amy, I solved it. He's not dead. But what do you do?
Okay.
So she goes, so then you start going, oh, Jade. Oh, mama. There's something you need help, girl.
Yeah.
Because you think this is the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the break in the friendship is that naturally Amy goes home and she tells her mom because she's not going to have this man's death on her hands.
Well, not to mention, like, this is nuts.
And that's how Jade became institutionalized.
Okay, so that says a lot about...
Yeah.
And so, so that being said, hypothetically, through Freida's writing,
right,
I could see that if Amy is the type of person to really internalize this stuff,
right,
she's the reason why. Yep. Even though, no, she's not. Jade is the reason why she's institutionalized.
And that's where I had conflict with the loyalty.
But I can kind of, like, I can't relate, but I can kind of see it.
Like, I would still feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
But I'd also, I could recognize, like, that is not okay. And that is not my responsibility.
And it's not you who did this.
Yeah.
And you actually are doing the right thing.
And that's not the person that I knew. That's not the Ashley I knew.
No. And it's not, I mean, we're also growing, developing.
This is me suggesting
different.
that you would kidnap.
Obviously. Obviously.
But I think because it's so extreme, like Amy, you're right, has this conflict because it's like, you're willing to do that for me?
Like, go on.
Thelma and Louise, baby.
So, okay, sorry, go ahead. You keep going. I have questions.
Because that's a lot, right?
Yeah, that is.
So, okay. Basically, this nurse lets it kind of, Amy, we basically find out that Will was brought in the same night that Jade was.
Oh.
And then Amy finally looks into the folder because Jade pushes her too far.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, I need to know who this person is now that I'm dealing with.
Okay.
And Cam's missing.
Right.
And she's like, the fear is getting to her.
And all the patients are like, we're dying today, FYI.
Yeah. So she looks in the folder. And Jade was brought in the same night as her boyfriend.
As Jade's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. So Jade, her last big thing is that she went on a bank robbery spree.
Get it, girl.
With her boyfriend.
Okay.
With beer bottles. And they were both brought intake. They both had intake the same night.
Okay.
So they didn't go to jail because it was clearly a case of sanity because of the fact that they were using bottles.
As like their weapon of choice?
Yeah. To hold people up.
Okay.
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 And then so Amy finds out Will was brought in the same night and she's like, wait a second, Will is Amy's boyfriend. I can't trust Will.
Oh, no.
And the two of them clearly let out. I keep saying
Sawyer.
I keep saying Damon Sawyer. Yeah, Damon Sawyer. In my head, I'm thinking William Dafoe because he just is so good in those roles. You know what I
that
mean?
would have been good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so
thinking
good.
Sawyer because I can't get away from Rebecca.
I know. I can't get away from it.
Okay, so Amy thinks Will's the boyfriend, but we later find out that Will's actually a reporter, or is there
Will before that. So you're going back and forth between like, do we trust Will? Do we not trust Will?
Okay.
And so once she reads the sheet, she's like, oh, Will isn't the person he's telling me, and I have to remember that he's a patient here.
Okay.
And Amy's like, oh my gosh, I just believed that this story that Will told me.
Which is the reporter story?
That he's a reporter.
Okay.
And so it messes with your mind because it's like, do you trust Will too? He's been hiding his meds.
Right.
He was brought in on the same night. And then Amy goes to the nurse and is like, what's the deal with these two? Meaning Will and Jade. And she's like, oh yeah, they're boyfriend, girlfriend.
Shit.
Yeah. At least that's where you're at.
Oh no. Okay.
So I'm going to just fast forward because I know that in order to tell you every little scene, it would take a long time. And it's really enjoyable. So if you still want to read it after all of these spoilers, do, because there's lots of intricate scenes. In a nutshell, Will ends up being medicated because Will's like, they basically tell the doctor, hey, Will's been hiding his medicine.
Okay.
So the nurse assists Dr. Beck, the cute doctor I was telling you about, in putting Will out for a little while. Okay. All meanwhile, Mary Ellen also was screaming that she saw Damon Sawyer and Damon Sawyer was going to kill her. And so they medicate Mary.
Uh-oh.
Mary... Jade goes into Amy goes into Mary's room. There's blood everywhere, but no Mary.
Oh,
I know.
I liked Mary.
Yeah, but at that point, you don't know she's dead.
Okay.
Yeah, you're still like, okay.
Well, I'm not a doctor, but there's a lot of blood.
But she had been screaming, Damon Sawyer's gonna. So it's like Damon Sawyer, but he's supposed to be in that one area. Cam's still missing. And then there's this scene where she sees blood on the ground coming out of one of the intake rooms. And Miguel, who peed on the light switch, was put into one of the other seclusion rooms. And blood starts coming out of Miguel's seclusion room.
Is it the jelly again?
Well, here's the interesting thing. So this is where Freida gets really good because you don't know what to trust because Amy's so tired. She goes to the doctor, wakes up the doctor, and the doctor's like,
The hot Oh, no.
And then the nurse comes by and was like, oh, yeah, I cleaned it up. It was more jelly. And so you're like, do we believe Amy?
Do we even trust the nurse?
Okay. All right. So fast forward a little bit more because I was like, I'm not going to tell you any scenes. Here's some scenes. Okay. Damon Sawyer is Dr. Beck. He was let out by Jade, essentially. He got out. He killed the original doctor and put him in the intake room.
Oh,
there's this big.
I like that.
Basically, there's this big reveal where what happens is she finally gets one text message out and one text message in, and it's her friend / roommate who already had a rotation with Dr. Beck. And this message essentially says, and this is after Will's put to sleep, Mary's missing, there's no Cam. She's thinking that she's losing her mind. And the text message says, yeah, Dr. Beck spent 30, 40 years making that, the unit it is today.
Oh, no. So what?
How can you be a 30-something-year-old hot doctor?
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's when she goes, so who's Dr. Beck? Damon.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
That's good. That's the Freida I was waiting for.
And it is. And then so all these twists. Needle does come into play. Thank you, Mary. Basically, you have this moment and Amy's almost out and she could leave. There's a moment she gets the security system to falter again and she's about to leave and she thinks, I did see blood. What if someone's still alive in one of those seclusion rooms?
Okay.
Opens it up, That's where she sees dead Dr. Beck,
Okay.
dead Cam,
Oh.
dead Mary Ellis,
Huh.
dead somebody else. Pretty sure Miguel's dead in the other one too.
Uh-huh.
And the nurse, because the nurse isn't the nurse. The nurse is another patient that had become friends with Jade and Damon. So basically, 3 of the psychotic criminals had taken over for the night.
And Will is still alive because he's the boyfriend.
Okay, Will isn't the boyfriend. Damon Sawyer is the boyfriend. So she finds out. Thanks for that reminder.
Is Will a reporter?
So Will is a reporter.
And he's dead.
He was put to sleep.
But like.
So here comes this epic scene where Amy has to fight for her life because she missed her opportunity to leave because she checked in the no-no rooms.
Okay.
And Jade and Dr. Beck and fake nurse Ramona are there and ready to kill her. And come to find out, Damon Sawyer is a pyro. So their whole plan is to create a diversion by burning the place down and leaving.
Sure.
Okay? Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's how they were thinking, okay, that's how we'll get out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Why not? So they were going to shoot her up so that she can't leave, so that she'd go to sleep and burn alive, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Will and all these other patients.
Right.
Okay. So she takes the needle and she stabs Jade. So good because they're all trying. It's just this amazing epic scene. So without going into the details of that, she's able to do that. And Spider Dan, who said that he would protect her, had actually created a floss web, a web out of floss.
Nathan's gonna love this.
It's
my 3-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. And wraps it around, I think it was Dr. Beck, Damon Sawyer.
Okay.
So basically takes out Damon Sawyer. And I don't know what happened to the other nurse. Maybe I can't remember because there was so much reading this week.
This is a lot going on.
Yeah. I think the 2 probably dispatched her somehow during a kerfuffle or something.
Sure.
But yeah, Spidey Dan saves the day, takes out Dr. Beck, not Dr. Beck, Damon Sawyer.
Yes.
And she handles Jade.
Okay.
And is great.
So she kills her old friend, but who's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I mean,
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay, I have questions.
But there's more.
Okay, good. Because those are probably the answers to my questions.
So she obviously the emergency staff comes and she's like, oh my gosh, because technically Dr. Beck, Damon Sawyer wasn't dead. He was just,
incapacitated for a sec.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so they come in, they help, and she basically is like, Will, like they probably are killing him with what they were going to kill me with.
Sure.
It was like fentanyl or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they'd carry him out and you don't know if he's alive.
Okay.
And also come to find out during her manic episode, Jade starts talking about how all throughout their childhood, like there came a point. Oh, that's right. Damon Sawyer was her mom's drug dealer.
Cute.
And when she was in high school and her mom was going through all those problems, Damon Sawyer was the drug dealer.
Okay.
And that's how she met Jade.
Oh, wow.
Or not, she met Jade, sorry. That's how Damon Sawyer became Jade's boyfriend.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was following. Okay.
Okay. And gave extra drugs to Jade that she put into Amy's peach iced tea.
That made her see the ghost?
Mm-hmm.
So she was just high?
That's what you think.
Wait, is that what we think for a second, or is that really
that's
what we're left with?
Until the epilogue. The epilogue's great. It's friendly. It's nice. If you don't want to know, shut me off now. If you do want to know, Ashley,
I'm at
keep
the
listening.
edge of my seat.
You think everything's fine.
Oh, no. I mean, oh, yes.
She has a relationship with reporter Will.
Amy does.
Amy does.
So they
Amy finishes her rotation. She's helped a lot of people.
trauma bond.
And they write a book together. And while writing a book about their experiences, they start dealing with their trauma and they heal together and they basically fall in love.
Okay.
And the last thing you're left with is that Amy still sees this little girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just enough. It's
Yeah.
just enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a little fun.
Yeah.
Like, was that part the predictable part? Yeah. But she takes it away from you and then she gives it to you ever so gently.
Places it neatly at the end.
Perfect.
Which, like, okay, whatever. Amy's getting through life.
Way
Book
to
drop.
go, Frida. What do you think?
I wish I
Fine,
read
right?
it.
I know,
Obviously,
I know,
it's
I'm sorry.
like you can't read them all. So I'm so glad you did,
Yeah.
because then I kind of did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love everything about it. That's most of my questions, anyways. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if she sees a little ghosty girl and she's like writing books and not killing Will, I mean,
Yeah.
who cares?
However,
Oh,
the little girl always tells her to do bad things.
well, does she do them?
Well, that's what makes her different.
Yeah, exactly.
So far,
I
she
mean,
hasn't.
I mean, if she's anything like me, you could say no only so many times.
And that's what you're left with.
Okay, cool.
So good, right?
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's too kitschy either. I think
So,
it's just perfect.
Do we ever find out like what D is, or is that just
You don't really find out why they call it word D.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's
I mean,
like-
or maybe I glazed over it because like I was like,
I mean,
you know,
there's
when
a
you're in
lot.
it and you're
Yes,
like, that
yes.
detail's not important. That
Yeah.
detail's not important. Give it to me. And poor Cam,
Oh yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Mm,
Well, he shouldn't have like studied for that test so hard.
well, there was kind of that moment, yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, okay, that's a lot. I'm happy for all of it.
And Spidey Dan.
I love Damon Sawyer, whatever his name is, for like getting
The
in
perfect
there,
creeper, right?
getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
And so had Dr. Beck's like body been in there for a while?
Apparently, just that rotation, like it was like a switch of rotations,
Oh.
just so that only the patients who had been there for an extended amount of time would know that he's not Dr. Beck.
I see.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, because of the staff as well, they had to time it a certain way so that it was believable.
The new
It was basically
shift.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's why all the older patients, such as Mary,
Uh-huh. We're
was
like
Damon's killing us. Like we're dying tonight. Because they
so
recognized him.
good.
But who's going to believe, if you're new to the unit, who's going to believe someone who's been told
It's the perfect crime, except for it didn't work out for them.
it almost did?
Honestly, Amy, buzzkill. I'm just kidding.
Crazy.
No, it sounds really good. I'm really happy that you read it. I'm really
Fun.
happy that
Yeah,
this
it
was
was
your
easy.
intro to
Yeah.
Freida, because she is awesome. I'm glad
And it
it's
was
one.
a thriller.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like she was just twisting it up nonstop.
She was. And like there would be moments where I'd be like, either Ashley would love this or Ashley was right or whoa, I can't wait to tell Ashley how wrong I
They're
was.
just all wrong.
Yeah.
And like right for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fun.
Good.
Isn't
Well,
that
I'm
fun?
really- yes, and that's what reading is for. Fun.
Fun.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
I did, but I did like how you made that point that she was able to tell herself no when that voice said yes.
Yeah, that's we're just all doing our best, right?
All right. So, like I told Ashley earlier, I may or may not have purchased The Tenant. That's also on Freida's recent release list. But I might not get to it. I might take a beat. I just wanted to have more Freida like ready to go for those nights where I finish early.
She has that effect. I read like her 3 Housemaid, I think is what they're called, the series, in just like a short period of time, because that's the thing. They go quick and then
Yes.
you're just like, okay, I'm ready for the next.
Yeah, and I don't know if I said this at the beginning or not, but she's a brain surgeon apparently.
Yeah, you
Or
told
she works
me,
on
and
brains.
that's really cool.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so that's on the bookshelf. Ward D, Freida McFadden. I give it like 10 out of 5.
Amazing.
Yeah, because it was, for me, fun.
It's what you want with a book like, well,
Yeah.
for me. It's
Yep.
what you want with a book
Quick
like
and
that.
easy.
Yeah.
I'm quick and easy.
And twisty turny.
All right, Matt Haig.
Oh, Matt.
You guys ready for a little Matty Matt?
So when we left off, Nora Seed was in a life in which she was an Olympic medal winning swimmer.
Yep. And instead of her dad being dead, her mom was dead, and her dad had remarried and comes to find out like he had been cheating with this other Olympic person.
Right. And her mom is dead in root life, but her mom died earlier in this life. But her brother's doing okay because he works with her. Seems like a manager type.
Yeah, got his alcoholism under
control, or
has a boyfriend.
Drinking, has a great boyfriend.
Or husband, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you might be right. I think husband. So that is cool, but she isn't feeling it.
No. And she's sucked on back. And there are different times throughout the second part of this book where her library is unstable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she's getting to the point where she's like, okay, all these lives suck. Take me out, just like I originally wanted.
Yeah, take me out, coach. However, you kept me going, and you were like, have you met the other slider?
Which I thought was an interesting touch, Mr. Haig.
Yeah, who's a slider? What's a slider?
Hugo is a slider. A slider? I'm actually getting hungry. Keep saying
I know.
slider.
Honestly, let's grab some food after this.
Okay, I got nowhere to be.
Yeah.
But okay, so Hugo, she meets in a really cold iceberg.
Antarctica.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, she goes.
Okay.
She goes and looks at glaciers.
I thought it was okay. Yeah, I'm not going to get geographical.
Or I'm wrong.
No, you're probably right. I'm not gonna get technical. There's glaciers melting. There's polar bears.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. She's a glaciologist, which is a really interesting career path. Mm-hmm. And she has a confrontation with the polar bear, and she's happy for life. She meets Hugo, who you know when you see one, because he talked to her the night before, and then the next day she's like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, you've been to different lives, ma'am. And
yeah,
she's
because
like,
she was missing parts of her memory. Like she
Yeah.
was there present as a version of Nora.
Mhm.
And then only someone who experienced it could recognize it.
Right. And because he knew the drill, he was like, oh, hey, yeah, I jump lives too. I'm a slider. And she was like, oh, there's
Did
more
you
of
like that?
us. You know what? I liked it. I felt like I kind of needed more from him, but then maybe not, because like what he had to offer was just enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't really want them to have a romantic relationship. He
No.
basically says in a different life they did.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny because they do it.
Yeah.
And then she immediately goes back to the library. Did you
Yeah.
catch that?
Yeah. I did catch how he wasn't that good for her.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
And then they meet again later in one of the other lives, and then
Yeah.
they have a nice chat, and then he leaves when she
Yeah.
says something, which it's not like, that's
Well,
what they do.
And I think it was because his whole perspective was, he's experienced it in different ways that his joy of sliding is different than hers.
Yes.
Like he's really lost in it.
He's there for the ride.
Yeah.
He's not looking for the life of satisfaction.
No, and you come to find out that it's not even about satisfaction in a life. If you can imagine a different one, then you're there.
Exactly.
At least for him.
And with the writing, I did like how Matt goes into the whole quantum physics, like
I did
little
too.
thing. I just that was helpful for me, just because
And it also
It's a
makes
good
it more
way to look
believable.
at
But
it,
it is a whole area of study.
Right.
That at any given moment, because of minor choices and decisions, you are living different existences based off of had you chosen differently.
Right.
And also your interaction with other people, had they chosen differently. Like if you had made different choices, I would not be having this podcast with you. It wouldn't have even been a possibility.
Right.
And there is that existing right now at this very time. What do you think?
I actually think, too, there's a world where we are still doing the podcast as
Yes.
different, like people. Maybe it's not a book club podcast.
Yeah,
You know?
I do.
It's so cool. So that part I liked. I did like that. The whole
Awesome.
possibilities and like the explanation there. I liked that. I liked Hugo's stance. I didn't really care for him as a person, but I liked his like vibe.
Mhm.
So I was happy for that.
What'd you think about her pop star, her moment, rock star
Oh,
moment?
that was cool. That was cool. Of course, it wasn't that cool because her brother had passed.
Yeah.
So I get I thought from the writing, way that was a good way to have that life, though, because it's like, what's the one thing? I mean, she clearly was already going through some stuff anyways. Like, she was still, like, depressed.
Right.
And, there was still, she had hard times. The media painted her in a way that wasn't cool.
She had a relationship with that one
actor.
And he had, like, cheated on her and stuff like that.
And, like, you find out too, like, she was a big fan of him, like, in other lives, and like, so that was a cool little ride, a little moment.
Yeah.
But she didn't really strike me as like rock star, anyways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was nice. She got to
Just
see what it would be like.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked that she. How do I say this? I like that she was like depressed every time. Like, I don't know. She
was searching for something.
Yeah. I just liked that the way he sets it up is like the answers weren't there. What she was looking for really wasn't there. I mean, she was getting rid of regrets. So opening her eyes to this whole big picture is good.
Yeah. Wasn't that something Mrs. Elm had said? It's not even about the answers being in the life. The answers are within her.
Exactly.
And she actually controls the entire library. She controls Mrs. Elm. She controls whether or not she chooses to live or die.
Yeah.
However, you can't control other people's actions within your choices.
Right.
And that was an interesting concept.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it. I liked when she went to her perfect life.
Which, Molly.
Yeah. Little cutie cute.
I did have a moment, though, because Molly made such an impact on her, but she had another life where she did have children.
Right.
And that was just glazed over. There's like, what did you think about that one? Okay, so in one chapter, it's basically like the many lives, and just like lists, boop, 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 like lists many decade, like,
Yes.
her journeys, her travels.
I was listening for that portion. Something I'll note, and this just might be me, is I listened to a lot of it, and the voice, nice little British voice.
Yeah.
It really changed things for me. I enjoyed the book. Like, the tone for me was different when I was reading it with my own voice.
More intimate.
Like, so every piece that I read myself, I liked more. And then when I was listening to it, I was kind of like, I mean, I was in it and I was hearing it, but it felt like a different story. Like, it felt like this, like, we're really looking for something. And it's just, I don't know. It just felt... So when I was listening to that part of just these like redundant, like this life, this life, this life, this life, I wasn't zoning out, but I was just kind of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's why, maybe even as an author, he probably got to that point. And I do want to say this, Matt. Thank you for writing this story. I liked it and I thought it was well written.
Yeah.
And so what I was going to say is he might have also gotten to the point where he's like, okay, I'm not going to be redundant.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done enough. I've shown enough. So that's where the list comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it was a good like writing strategy, like to really like lay it in there, because I could imagine if I'm Nora Seed, like that's what reading that felt like is like what she was feeling. And she's just like this.
Right.
And none of these are my puzzle piece.
Right. Because like you had said, she was clearly looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really interesting because for me personally, the Molly one was a lot to read, where she meets her daughter essentially had she gone out with Ash.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what you described as the perfect life.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what might be the chapter title. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I made that up.
I mean,
one of them
there were,
somewhere.
Yeah, it was like a part of it.
Yeah.
And I believe the reason why she ends up getting out of it was because in those choices, she ended up not working at that shop, teaching lessons. And in not teaching lessons to the young man who could have gone either way, he ended up going the wrong way.
Yeah.
And she finds that out in this parallel life, right? That it's also the small choices. And that was the whole point, Mrs. Elm talking about the small choices that you make or don't make. Have an impact in the world.
Yeah, and the older gentleman who was her neighbor was in that home and no one was visiting him and he couldn't go sit in the garden, and she knew how much he loved his flowers and his nice house, so that was taken away because she was able to help him be a little bit more independent, so that allowed him to live alone. And and then I think she even mentions too, like, she had this life that she was learning to love, and it wasn't hard for her to love it, but she felt something missing because she wasn't there. She wasn't there to build it.
Right. That as well.
Yeah.
It was interesting because the pieces started to come to her and that's why she started to get comfortable with it. And the more comfortable she got, the more of what it became more like a root life, except for it was missing those pieces that she had added to her root life. It was the value she got in helping others.
Yes.
It's like, and that's such a big message, I think, in this world is it's very easy. And I think when you make a choice of life or death, it's a selfless thing, right? Or it's an ultimate choice of self, choosing to live or die, but the implications and how it affects others is really significant because you do impact. I mean, I was even thinking, this is going to sound so silly, but I was thinking of this yesterday. I went to Whole Foods to get a pizza made because it's so good.
It is.
And so this man who makes this pizza is so nice. I don't know his name. I don't know him personally, but we had a human interaction that was so friendly and so joyous. And yesterday was a tough day for me. And it was just, I wanted to thank him because it was nice. And if he wasn't there in that moment, there would have been somebody else, but I needed it. I needed that connection at that time. Just from the pizza guy.
No, I totally get that. And it's like, I don't know, I'm not going to be like in this day and age or with social media or whatever. But those types of interactions, at least for me, are few and far between. And it really feels super special when you have a positive interaction with a stranger. Like, it really feels super special. Yeah. Especially if you're in a moment where like you kind of feel like you need it and the universe is giving it to you.
And I like that the book kind of tells you that and it reminds you. And we are doing that right now too. Like even when you guys message us, like please know that means so much. Like you're not a club if it's only one person.
Yeah. I mean, no.
Okay, so you like that too?
Yeah, I did like that. And I liked that that's how we got to the end. It wasn't just like, okay, I learned my lesson, get me back into life. It was because of those like missing pieces, those small things, as Mrs. Elm had said. And then, of course, she fights for her life and she gets back and she, wakes up and she drags herself to that same neighbor. And then her brother and her mend. And she doesn't really think about the fact that she would have been missing from her brother's life until they have that reconnection moment. And he's like, well, don't go anywhere because I need you. Right. And like in the beginning.
And he had been experiencing a completely different life than what she knew.
And that talk was really great. And it was totally different. Like in her head, she had convinced herself like she was doing a disservice to him by existing.
Right.
And then come to find out he was just going through his own shit. And now they come together and they're like all each other has left. And now they're like ready to move forward.
Okay, so
I liked that.
In college, I loved it too. I loved it. I didn't just like it, actually. I loved it.
Okay, great. I liked it.
In college, I studied death and existentialism and the meaning of life.
Interesting.
I loved it.
I'm surprised you guys didn't read this book.
Philosophy.
Well, maybe it was a different year.
It was definitely a different year. But we did, study some of the greats and some of the concepts, and I loved how there was a lot of philosophy that was brought into this. Like, I did highlight this Sartre quote on page 275. Life begins, Sartre once wrote, on the other side of despair. And you could tell, too, that Matt had to have studied a bit of philosophy himself. And, all of these philosophers, as they study life and learn about life, and I love Kierkegaard. Søren Kierkegaard was amazing. And he says, because you think you exist and you create your reality, and it's also this choice of participation. And to me, that's what this book is basically saying. Like, you choose to participate. You can't control how somebody else participates, but you do impact the experiences that other people have. And you could be living millions of other lives given any choice that you make. But it's about choosing. So I really liked that about the story. Ashley, what did you take away from this? Like, you said things that you liked, but like overall, if you were to just like summarize.
Well, I'm happy that I ended up like finishing the book, concluding it through my own voice, reading it with my own eyes. I really needed that because I was getting to the point a little bit where I was like, okay, I was about to say Miracle on 34th Street to bring it
Oh my
full
gosh,
circle.
I love
But I
that.
was getting like, It's a
Santa?
Wonderful Life. You know,
Yeah.
I kind of was like, okay, it's predictable. I know where it's going. But I like how he did it. I like that it was little touches of people that were just acquaintances.
Yeah.
That, you know, I liked how he did it. So his spin on it, I liked it overall. It's not a book genre that I'm like really, you know, drawn to. So I am glad that we picked it for shared so I could experience it for what it was. I liked it. I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
For writing, for
Yeah.
his spin on how we brought the quantum physics in, how, you know, just her little lessons that she ended up with. Even if it was sort of predictable, I liked how he did it.
I agree. I don't think it was a waste of time.
No.
I thought it brought up a few conversations and things in my own mind that, you know, have been there, just kind of like flitting about. It was, I thought, beautifully written. Some of the predictability is what would keep 1 star away from me as well.
And I will say, too, I think everyone's different, but I think it's a good read for someone who maybe is in a slump.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's why I picked it. Because I was coming off of my career, you know, and I had mentioned that. I wanted to choose this because it was a reflection on different paths and different lives. And I think, you know, overall, the message of just continuing on and, you know, the regret aspect and not really, there's no need for regret, really, is the sense that I get, you know, and that kind of, it was really reassuring. However, there was one part that stood out the most to me.
Okay.
And resonated the most and is my big takeaway.
Okay.
Which was anytime she wasn't really satisfied, she was living someone else's dream.
Yeah.
Someone else's dream for her.
Right.
What she thought needed to be her dream because it would be somebody else's dream attached to it.
Right. She was trying to make others happy or perform how she thought they wanted her to.
Right. And she was only really able to let herself into the experience when she tried the lives that were a little less orthodox, right? The ones that spoke to her more directly. The things that she thought would, you know, at one point, like, let's try that or let's, you know, that would be fun. And it had nothing to do with anyone else's expectation. And I don't know, in that moment when I read it, I was like, that's why I picked it. I wanted that validation.
Yeah. It's the book itself. It's a good tool. It's a nice reminder. Even if you kind of feel like you know, like where this is going, she's going to appreciate her life. How we get there, it was refreshing. It was a nice reminder of like, hey, you've got the steering wheel or whatever.
And honestly, why not have a happy ending? It should have a happy ending.
Oh my gosh, imagine if it didn't.
Could you? I mean, and that kind of was like what I was thinking.
Imagine if it was just like, all right, 12:01, she's dead.
All right, Matt, you're back to 5 stars for me because like the truth is, I don't know how else you could have done it.
Yeah, what would have been the more perfect ending? There isn't one.
Yeah. It's just kind of like
I'm giving it 5 stars. I can't compare this to cat decapitation. I just can't.
No, you can't. You cannot. And you inspired us to play a game. Ashley, do you want to slide or die?
Okay, do I need to hear the prompt?
Okay, here's the prompt. In my magical bag of Ziplockness. Can you guys hear it? I love this ASMR.
They're loving it.
There are different potential lives that you could have lived.
Yes. Okay.
You pull one.
Okay.
And that's the life for me.
Okay.
And I have to say slide and not die. It was just the rhyme. I said die, but slide or pass. Okay?
On?
Or pass on. Okay. She's so clever, guys.
Okay.
Clever girl. And if you choose slide, then, okay, so like, let's say I pick it, it's for you, and you choose slide, then I get to tell you what that life would have been.
Okay, like I'm sliding into that life. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And then same vice versa.
Okay.
So if I go, ooh,
but I pick first.
slide.
Okay.
Yeah, if I go, ooh, slide, then you get to make up what it could have been.
Okay.
Yeah, and it could be, and it's up to your imagination.
Okay, well, let me put on my creative
A
hat.
little game of sliders.
Okay, so this is for you.
This is for me.
Okay. Never went to college, straight to career.
Slide. I'm in.
Okay. Well, that's great.
What I do, Ashley.
That's great because you became the professional drummer of Primus. But this is what, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you take your best friend on the road and you live happily ever after. Maybe I'm not that good at this game.
No, this is good. That's a good start. That's a good start. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to have to take a less selfish approach next time.
No, I loved it. Your turn.
Wait, I have to do it again?
Oh, wait. Okay. Ashley, you in this life, you dedicated your life to become a pro athlete.
Slide, because I can't wait to hear what I did.
Okay. So in high school, you find out that you're actually really good at golf.
I can see it.
I can see it. I can totally see it. And a scout comes and is like, you're on your way and you get a full ride to whatever school is really good for golf. Sorry, I'm not that into it. I mean, detailed. Okay. And you are very dedicated to it. But because you're so dedicated to it, we don't really talk that much.
Oh.
You lose touch with Maya.
Oh.
Yeah. You definitely don't meet your person you're with right now.
Oh.
Or reconnect. And you go on tour. And you become essentially the Tiger Woods of female golf. You are bringing in millions, but like Nora, you spend so much time on it that you are tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're pretty tired.
Okay.
But you're filthy rich.
Okay.
Okay. And you get a lesbian lover.
I was going to say, and I end up partying too hard with Tiger Woods in a hotel. And my life ends.
No. Even better. Even better. You don't party too hard with him, but because you went to a party, it's now the whole Diddy thing.
Oh.
You see what I mean?
Okay.
So that's what happened to you.
Okay. Bummer. Well, let's see.
What do you think? Would you go back to your library?
I guess. You lost me a Diddy.
Go on.
Invented something popular.
Slide.
Okay. It's 2012.
I love this already.
Get ready to edit this out. Before have been created and mass produced.
Okay.
And Katie has an idea. She has a dream. She literally has a dream. And she wakes up from the dream and she says,
That makes sense.
by George, I've got it. And she patents this brilliant idea.
Okay.
And then
Yep.
she is the face
Uh-huh.
of women's pleasure, pre-Goop, pre-Gwyneth, making us all one with our bodies. And she really does it. She really becomes the face of women's pleasure. Unfortunately, that doesn't leave room in her life for love because she's all business.
Oh yeah.
And
that
she's
tracks.
and you know how Katie is, you guys. You guys know how Katie is. She's in it. She's just full 100% business-minded Katie. And that's all that life is. And she has a couple good dates here and there. She spends time with her parents and brother, but she lives alone in her skyrise. No cats because she travels so much she can't even bring herself to having pets
Okay.
because it just wouldn't be fair.
Okay.
And she's 55. But she's rich.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm glad I slid, but I'd probably go root.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there were fun things.
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound bad.
Okay.
I'm not saying it sounds bad.
Okay.
I'm like having a Hugo moment. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay. Ooh. Said yes instead of no to date someone.
Never happened. Okay.
So, repoll?
Okay. No,
Repoll?
no. Believe me.
Are you
I said
sliding?
no. No, I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
What happens?
Okay. Well, you have to give me a little description of this person without giving the name.
Oh, wait, it's real?
Oh.
I thought you were, okay, no, okay.
I can make it up.
Oh, yeah, make it up.
Okay, I'm going to make it up. Okay.
Because I literally can't remember any time I've ever said
Okay, this is actually going to be midway through college. You met someone midway through college.
Okay.
Okay. And you were hanging out with our mutual friend. You guys were doing your cool thing because they're really cool.
It was fun times, for
Super
sure.
fun times. And this one person that you probably don't remember was just kind of like shy, but was like, hey, like, I think we should go out sometime. And you just were like, and just like laughed it off. But in this moment, you actually didn't laugh it off. And you go, yeah, right. And they go, no, seriously, give me your phone. And they put their number in your phone. And the next day when you wake up, you can't stop thinking about this person.
Jason's pissed. My college boyfriend.
Okay. So because you're a responsible partner.
I wasn't.
And you say, sorry, Jason, like, we're done.
Okay.
We got to part ways.
Yeah.
Even
This is a time
if
for
we had
growth.
trouble,
Yeah,
whatever,
okay.
with accepting that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you text the number and you go, I can't stop thinking about meeting you. I think we need to go out. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
You end up living together senior year.
Okay.
He ends up having like this career where it's pretty posh and he takes care of you. Okay. And you are free to explore the podcast with your friend. And so you actually have a beach house. You're still by the beach. You're loving it. But because he's so busy, he's not home a lot.
Wow, what a bummer.
And that's just your life. And you wake up by the beach and your friend is so happy, named Katie. And yeah, and this person turns out to be a really good guy. You just don't see him as much as you wish you could. And you haven't really started a family yet.
Well, lucky for all of us, I did go back to the library when I was in that situation because you know what? I could not handle the responsibility of the perfect life. And we're still back here in the podcast. So yes, I go back to Root Life because that was Root Life and here we are.
I love it. Okay, maybe just one or two.
Yeah, one more. I'm lacking creativity.
This is great though. Isn't it interesting though to like kind of put yourself in that position?
Yeah, it is. Moved to the East Coast.
Ugh.
You want a different one?
No,
Okay.
I want to slide.
Okay.
I just like imagining.
Yeah. So when did you move to the East Coast? Right after USC.
Okay, yeah.
And you got a job in music.
Okay.
But it wasn't like on the engineer side. It was on the sell your soul side. Where you are actually finding artists. And you're deciding, because your opinion matters, you're deciding who gets their big break. But that also means you're deciding whose dreams kind of get crushed. And it also means you're deciding who's going to be selling their soul because we know record labels. This huge record label that you work for is not going to give the deals that are best to these artists. They're using and abusing. But guess who's Richie Rich? Katie.
Ooh. Am I enjoying the partying? Because you have to party and you have to be out late for that kind of stuff.
You're actually really living your best life. You're doing it responsibly and you're having a really good time, but you do have this sinking feeling that you're kind of like stealing dreams and selling souls.
And honestly, if I'm on the East Coast, then I'm not spending time with my family.
That's also true. You aren't. You might have a lover that you are happy with, just enough happiness. There's no big problems. Maybe there's not passion, and you're not seeing your family very often.
I think it was an interesting slide, but I go back to the whole point of the story, which is like root life wins, you know?
Yeah.
Like it can be entertaining to think of like these different places that you would be, but like, I don't know. I was even thinking of the small things. Like if I had done small things differently, like, okay, so in there, I did put like, not dating someone that you had been with.
Right.
Because, like, we've all had bad relationships.
Sure.
And even then, I'm like, well, I kind of needed that bad relationship.
For sure. And
You know?
if we're taking, like, the Matt Haig route or the Nora Seed route, They probably learned a big lesson dating me.
Yeah.
God forbid I take that from them.
Exactly.
Far be it from me.
Live and let live.
Yeah.
Okay, that was fun.
That
I
was
enjoyed
fun.
sliding with you. You were creative.
I enjoyed sliding with you.
We're so slippery.
The name of the game of this podcast is reading.
Is reading. So what are we reading next?
So I will be continuing with The Shards, of course, by Bret, my best friend, Easton Ellis. And I'll be finished by next time. Together, we will be reading this bad boy. It looks fairly easy. Font size, as I discussed earlier, pre-record, is pretty big. It's like a little over 200 pages. Maybe we might even be able to finish it up, but no pressure. This is called I Shouldn't Be Telling You This, but I'm Going to Anyway. It's by Chelsea Devontes. I'm showing the camera in case you're not watching. And it is non-fiction.
Okay.
Unless there's a twist.
So that's real. That means real.
This is real, yes. And what this is, so Chelsea is a comedian.
Okay.
She's a woman comedian, not a woman comedian. She's a woman. She's a comedian.
Right.
And she wrote a memoir. And from what I understand, it's kind of what we were just talking about. Like, she lived a life of hardships. I'm sure they're good times too. We'll read about it. She was in an abusive relationship though, and she had some troubling times. So this might be kind of a darkness to it. I'm hoping we come out in the sunshine. And I mean, she's living her life and she's being successful. So I think it's going to end up being like a nice story to hear about. It was giving badass. I don't know much about her as an individual, so we will find out more. Jon Stewart says, raw, intimate, hilarious, actually inspiring. What the fuck?
Into it. I can't wait.
So that's yours.
Thank you. You really got this for me?
Yeah, I did. I'm going to read it digitally. And I have like so many audiobook credits like piling up. I'm going to maybe use that too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I love this.
Yeah, there's an interesting technique she uses where she blacks out things.
Okay, I just want to show the people.
And I don't know if this is going to be frustrating or not. And she does tell us why. I don't know if she had to because of legal reasons.
Cop, and the chapter's bridesmaids.
So I don't know this for sure. We can circle back. I think that she wrote raw. Okay. Like about experiences that happened with a specific person. And I think when it came to publishing, unfortunately, she wasn't allowed to share her full truth. So rather than completely redacting, she literally blocks out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if it's a frustrating thing or we'll see if we get her point.
I like her braveness.
Yeah.
Already. The courage, here it is. I love it. And the title's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then are you going to be reading another book?
Okay, so just full transparency. Next week I am starting a road trip. Some of our besties are getting married. So I'm going to have to do quick reads this week, which is awesome because that's what this one seems like.
Yes.
So I am going to throw a kind of fun one for you.
Oh, you have something in mind?
Also nonfiction. UFOs, who knows?
I love it.
Okay, so I love that she's laughing. Okay, so this is actually really freaking cool. This is someone that my dad knows. Okay,
Who wrote it?
And he's a scientist.
Okay,
and his name's Ryan Wood. This is also by Anthony De Lorenzo. And this is a signed copy, which is really cool.
Ooh.
But what it actually is, and I'm just going to point it out. Each page is a small excerpt. And
a story.
Sorry, this was and it's somebody else who is in the public's eye and their experience or opinion about UFOs.
Cool.
Okay. So that's why I think it'll be a quick read. I'll share some of my favorites with you. There are astronauts. There are celebrities, including David Bowie and Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, Kurt Russell, Dan Aykroyd, Jackie Gleason, scientists and engineers, which is amazing, military personnel.
Oh, I love hearing that.
I know. Religious individuals, including the Dalai Lama.
Oh, wow.
Presidents and world leaders, all the way from Truman to Margaret Thatcher.
I love.
Different government individuals, And yeah, so I am really intrigued. My mom actually already stuck her toes in the water with this one. But it's so cool because it gives the person's name. Like for this is General Nathan Twining. And it tells you a little bit who he is and a little experience that he had. Right?
I like this.
And like there are probably 100 people, I would say.
Yeah.
So UFOs, who knows? And I can't wait.
That is really cool.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah, it's kind of like outside the box for what we're
I wanted
used
to do something outside the box.
And I love that you're kind of mixing it up, and it seems so interesting.
And it's kind of modern in the sense, too, that
it's a hot topic.
It is. Netflix just dropped a couple series. The federal government just released like all of this information.
There's a lot of files being declassified.
Yeah.
Speaking of podcasts, as we're literally speaking on a podcast, lots of podcast guests of ex-military, ex-government officials. People are coming out, sharing experiences. This is super on topic, and I find it personally very interesting.
Right. And these might be people that maybe aren't, on the Netflix series or someone you might not think about. But the more you hear about human experiences with, extraterrestrial life and the science, maybe even just the spaceships or what they've seen. So I'm not saying I'm a believer or non-believer, although I'm a believer. I just think it's a really cool kind of twisty thing to do. So I'll be diving into Devantes and basically just seeing what this world has to offer.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
fun, loving it. Yeah, and the concept, like those gentlemen who put it together, like what a great idea.
Yeah. So my goal is at least I'm going to share one individual from each category that really stuck out to me and the experience that they had.
Ooh,
yeah,
something
or the
to
knowledge.
look forward to.
Yeah, fun.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I got.
Well, episode 13, I guess we should have saved you for UFOs, who knows? But 14 is just, we're going to carry it on. Yeah.
We're going to carry it on. So we did put some books on the shelves today. 2, I believe.
The Midnight Library and Ward D.
And I cannot wait to hear what happens next week with Bret.
Honestly, like hopefully I make it back because I'm just so immersed, so engulfed in my 4 different ways of consuming this book. I don't know if I'm going to have to read American Psycho next. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll just watch it. Let's just watch it. In fact,
you guys, okay.
Who's planning to see I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Okay, Freddie's back. Speaking of 90s, early 2000s, whatever. Do you guys remember that Reese Witherspoon is in American Psycho?
What?
Okay.
I did not. But now that you're saying that, the image flashed before me.
And I was like looking for something specific that I could wear that I had an idea about, and I couldn't find it. But what I did come across was a clip, and I was like, holy smokes, that's right.
Okay, so why hasn't her book club recommended it?
Okay, I wasn't going to go there, but I was just like thinking, Reese is really poking herself into my life left and right this week.
Mighty but strong.
Yes, and whatever. Cruel intentions. I mean, you can't knock her. She's one of the greats, I guess.
Yep. Rest in peace. No, she's still alive. She's still alive. Thank goodness. Oh, we love you.
We do. Okay.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Bye.
Okay,
bye. Bye.